Welcome to the November meeting. We'd like to acknowledge this land that we meet on today is the traditional lands of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the traditional custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to living Kaurna people today. We pray for wisdom to provide good governance for the city of Unley in the service of our community. Members will stand in silence in memory of those who have made the supreme sacrifice in the service of their country at sea, on land and in the air. Lest we forget. Okay. Okay, apologies. Councillor Crabb has given a very late apology so we've got one absent. Leave of absence nil, conflict of interest. Do any members, sorry, I should have put that down. Can you hear clearly? Thank you. Any conflicts? No conflicts of interest. Minutes of the ordinary council meeting held Monday the 27th of October. Councillor Brunetsky. Seconded. Thank you. Councillor Finos-Stephen. Mover? Those in favour? Unanimous. Okay, deferred items nil. Petitions and deputations. I've got 3 petitions and I'm inviting Damien White to come and present, please. Damien, you know the ropes. Thank you for going first. You've done it before. And I've invited you first with the agreement of the others so that people are more relaxed.
No worries.
5 minutes.
Okay, thank you for the time. This deputation contains 2 key subjects. My observation of an apparent lack of a systematic approach to budgeting and reporting on physical works delivered within the asset management regime of council, originally raised by me in a deputation provided on the 23rd of June here. And a more recent issue of the requirement to replace car parking pavers on King William Road at a not insignificant cost is, in my considered opinion, a symptom of the first point. The objective of my original deputation on 23 June and this deputation is to ensure that there is sufficient maturity, transparency and a learning culture within the organisation and by councillors in relation to the management, maintenance and replacement of council's physical assets. Ratepayer funds should be considered scarce and any increases in rates to be considered only as a last resort. Indeed, council should be taking the opportunity to more actively communicate initiatives being developed and implemented to demonstrate a desire by council for ongoing efficiency improvements and value for money for ratepayers. My deputation on 23 June included my concerns of having an asset management budget that was presented, the 25-26 budget, without the inclusion of any planned non-financial deliverables for the budgeted expenditure, i.e. a bottom-up budget. Pretty basic stuff. Further, I met with senior council staff on 3rd of July and those discussions confirmed a lack of systematic organisational maturity in the areas of asset management planning and unit rates for formulating budgets and for monitoring the delivery of the budget. Whilst it's pleasing that the required financial capacity is being provided in the budget by way of the asset funding renewal ratio, there is no performance reporting to provide assurance that the planned works are being delivered in compliance with the plan, nor is there any benchmarking to understand the levels of efficiency being delivered. Considering that a significant proportion of council's total expenditure is in the areas of asset maintenance and renewals, at least 22% plus overheads, in my experience this is an unconventional method to develop an expenditure budget. If the planned activities have in fact been identified, and I think they have, and used in the formulation of the budget, it begs the question, why not include and monitor the implementation of the budget against those plans? Also, the 23-24 annual report advised that detailed reviews of asset management plans had been undertaken during that year. At the 3 July meeting, I advised staff that the 2023 asset management plans were the only ones available on the website, i.e. not the updated ones. As of this morning, they are still the only ones on your website. I recently requested details about the rationale for replacing car parking pavers on King William Road, especially considering they'd only been laid within the last 2 years. I was advised that replacement was due to premature failure, which was a hazard to pedestrians. The primary cause of failure was the selection of the incorrect materials for the application. I was advised that whilst council officers had expressed some concerns regarding the specifications of the materials to be used, which was specified by an external consulting company, the originally specified materials were installed anyway. On the surface, one would expect the consulting company to have at least some liability for the cost of replacement. If council have borne the full cost, I've estimated the total cost associated with this work would be the equivalent to a year's rates for 100 ratepayers. I'm interested to understanding the learnings captured from this incident and how such learnings have been systematically implemented into council systems and procedures, in particular what post-mortem processes are in place to systematically capture learnings, ensuring liabilities of service providers are included in the engagement process, ensuring that your enterprise risk plan has captured the learnings in an effort to prevent a repeat event. Finally, as presented on 23 June, the 23-24 annual report did not include any details about physical works delivered, only what was spent on assets. I note in today's papers for the 24-25 annual report, again, there is no detail there about what physical works have been performed. There's how many pool visits, there's how many library visits.
Damien, time, I'll give you one sentence, just to wrap.
Whilst I'd expect that members of the Audit and Risk Committee would readily have the answers to these questions regarding the King William pavers, and I'd gladly accept answers now, I also offer to meet with Audit and Risk Committee members, other councillors and the CEO to gain a better understanding of these issues and to identify opportunities for improvement.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Russo.
Through the Chair. Thank you, Damien, for your deputation. Can you please, and I might have missed this at the beginning, can you please state, are you a resident, a business owner? What's your position in the Council of Unley?
I'm a resident.
Thank you. And do you live near King William Road?
Yes.
Okay. In regards to these matters, being raised on the 23rd and now on the 7th, as your Unley Ward councillor and with Councillor Finos, both of us haven't been informed of your particular concerns, so you've obviously worked just directly with council administration, is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, so matters like this, we're here to support, I guess, our residents and so forth for that. So I'm just wondering why you wouldn't have reached out to your councillors, because you did state in there that we need to be educated or we need to be informed about things.
Did you get the question?
I did. So when, not specifically about King William Road pavers, but the fundamental issue for me about the maturity of the budgeting process for asset management in Unley Council, when that was raised at the last time I provided a deputation, it was dismissed as if, well, we've got that information and so I guess you go down one path and if you don't get any satisfaction, you try another path.
The question was, were you aware you have ward councillors that you
can approach these matters on? Yeah. Okay. I would suggest in future with matters, bring them to our attention is always a a good process, and sometimes can be a more timely process because we can directly have conversations at our ward meetings and so forth, just so that you're aware. Thanks.
No other questions? Thank you, Damien. Okay, now ask Andrew Kennedy. Now, who's joining you, Andrew? Carla and just Judy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm being joined by Dr. Julie Ward, who'll be providing
Judy.
the
Okay, thank you.
information.
My name is Dr. Julie Ward, and I've lived in the section of Young Street between George Street and Glen Osmond Road for 43 years. This is the only segment of Young Street about which I'll be referring. It is a busy, narrow road with Parkside Primary School, a childcare centre, after-school care, 2 churches and a corner shop located on it, as well as a nursing home and St Raphael School located just a street away. It's the only connection with the 3 streets between George Street and Fullerton Road that lead directly onto Greenhill Road. When my children attended Parkside Primary School in the 1990s, there were only 98 students in the whole school, and it's now grown to approximately 360 students. Speeding cars are not a problem in this street, but traffic congestion, reducing it to a single lane, and poor traffic visibility is. It's absolutely unsuitable for cycle lanes. This section of Young Street is a very narrow road and can only accommodate 3 cars abreast. So when there are cars parked on both sides of the road, the traffic is reduced to a single lane only. As a consequence, when cars then approach each other from opposite directions, one car or a line of cars must pull over to the curb to allow oncoming traffic to pass. This slows the traffic speed significantly. This street does not need council-built slow lanes. We already have them, created by parked cars, often for large lengths of the street. Heavy street parking occurs daily for school start and finishing times, as well as funerals or other school or church events. The footpaths are also very narrow, at only 1.6 metres wide. As a resident, it's risky backing out of our narrow driveways due to lack of visibility of the oncoming traffic because of high, solid front and driveway fences that go right to the footpath, or large parked vehicles which block our view of oncoming traffic. It's not until the back metre or so of my car is actually on the road that the car driver can even see the street or oncoming traffic. I have photos which demonstrate this. Cyclists are at significant risk of injury from cars reversing out of driveways because the cyclist is not visible to the car driver until very late. There is insufficient road width to allow for 2 parked cars, 2 cyclists and a car to travel safely on a section of the road at the same time. It can often be difficult to turn into our driveways when there are many parked cars on the street, as the turning circle becomes insufficient. I wish to reiterate that speeding cars are not a problem with this part of Young Street, but congestion and poor traffic visibility is. Funnelling cyclists into the narrow and busy T-junction at the corner of George and Young Street is especially dangerous and puts cyclists on a collision course with cars. It often gets very congested with lines of bumper-to-bumper cars on George Street, and traffic visibility is again poor. Cars can only turn left or right from Young Street, cutting across the path of cyclists who must check traffic from 3 directions at once to cross safely. The most dangerous situation is for a cyclist to be hit by one of the all too frequent red light runners at the pedestrian crossing on the city side of the T-junction, as this is most likely to be a high-speed impact, causing serious injury or death. Just 300 metres to the south of George Street is a pre-existing east-west cycle path that connects with the Windsor Street Linear Reserve and crosses George Street between Leicester and Maud Street, where there is only a 2-lane road.
Sorry, 1 minute.
Divided by a median strip with safety barriers, so pedestrians and cyclists can safely cross half the road at a time. It has excellent visibility for all users and is much safer. The council plans to include permanent slow lanes and cycle paths in this part of Young Street will make the street much less safe for all users and prioritises policy over public safety and human life. Sadly, I expect a cyclist to be killed on the road should this plan proceed.
Thank you. I've been told off for allowing you to distribute those the leaflets, Andrew. They should have been given in advance and the staff put it out. That's just for the record. Any questions?
Hello, Julie. Can you just let us know your street number? I might have missed that. Through the chair,
I didn't give my street number.
Okay.
I'm number 49 Young Street. I'm about halfway along the street.
Another question through the chair. Are you aware of the changes that have been made since the first iteration of the
Yes.
plan? And have you
Yes.
seen the revised plans?
Yes. And this refers to them.
Okay. Any other questions?
So, councillor, we would note,
hang-
however,
sorry.
that the residents were not uniformly
Sorry,
contacted.
excuse me, I need to call order. You need to address questions and things through the chair. And so, do you want, I'll allow you to answer, but just, it's not a two-way discussion with the people arguing, okay?
I would
So-
appreciate that being answered. So I'll ask you now, Andrew. When were you made aware of the revised plan?
We were made aware of the revised plan to our house. However, none of the other neighbours were contacted as part of the process. So it was not widely distributed that there was revised plans.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Gaffey.
What solutions would you have to the changes and plans that have been made?
Thank you, councillor, for your question. In our deputation, we actually provided a number of solutions. I'm not sure if the other councillors have had an opportunity to read that deputation, but the solutions that we offered were that the speed limit on Young Street could be reduced to 30 kilometres an hour. The proposed single slow points with road humps and landscape curve extensions, including the trees, be replaced with bike markings on contrasting pavement. Improved signage for the street, and having council commit to a 6-month review following the installation of the road markings and no slow points to allow administration to assess actual impacts and determine if further investigations are necessary.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, thank you very much indeed for your presentation. Now, I don't think Daniel Grilly, because nobody's walked in. He is here. You did walk in and I didn't know. You're meant to be sitting in the front row, Daniel, if you want to give a deputation. Please come up. You get 5 minutes, the same thing, and hopefully at the 1 minute mark, I'll remind you you've got 1 minute to go. Yeah, you got it. Give me.
Okay.
Okay.
Good evening, councillors, Lord Mayor. Thank you for having me at short notice. I'm Daniel Grilly. I'm the spokesperson for the Unley Bicycle User Group, and we represent a community of over 500 people who walk, cycle and wheel in and around our city. I'm here tonight to urge council to proceed with stages 2 and 3 of the Young Street Bikeway. A bit of background first. So you probably all know that Unley has the highest rates of cycling in the state, but did you know that in Unley, Parkside has the highest of anywhere? So the place with the highest amount of cycling in the state is Parkside. In the 2021 census, there was over 6% of people cycled to work, and that was during COVID. That's 6 times the the Adelaide average. The facts show that people in Parkside cycle and care about cycling. But this Young Street project is about more than the people of Parkside. It's about connecting Unley as a whole together. Unley has great north-south bikeways, Mike Turner, Rugby Porter, Merino Rocks. What it lacks is ways to go east and west and connect them, and that's what Young Street can be. In addition to that, it also feeds into the best way to connect to Burnside in our east, which is the intersection of Glen Osmond and Young Street, which connects to a bikeway on the other side. That is, if Young Street is made safe and accessible. So why is this important? I'll talk you through one of the rides that we lead every month and what we typically do if we were heading east. We start here at the Town Hall, We ride down Rugby Porter, which is fantastic, and we turn onto Young Street. That's stage 2 of this project, which is pretty good, but this project will make it even better. Then we get to the intersection of George Street, which the council recently improved, which is fantastic. It's unlocked Young Street as a route, and this project proposes to make it even safer. As we heard, it could be better. Then we get to stage 3, which is George Street to Glen Osmond Road. Now, I always get nervous as a ride leader when we get to this part because unlike the other parts of Young Street, there are more cars. We heard that tonight. And because it's not a dead end, these cars go faster. I get nervous for the safety of our group, and I always want to get through it as quickly as possible. Look, our group is all ages and abilities, but overall, we are probably slightly more experienced than your average person. So if we get nervous, what about the families who might want to ride to Parkside Primary School, St Raphael's, or the childcare with their kids? What about the high school students who might want to cycle independently to Glenunga? Like I said, this is the best way to get over to the east. These are the people that this project is for. These people and anyone else who wants to ride around our city but feels that it's currently unsafe. To conclude, I'd like to reassure you all that we know what's being proposed here with stage 3 of Young Street, which I think is the nub of it here. We know it works because it's a very similar design to the one that this council approved for Woodsweller Bikeway here in Goodwood and has been operating for years to great success. Woodweller is actually narrower than Young Street to my knowledge. So it's a design that we know works and we know slows down cars, makes the street safer for people cycling. Look, for Unley Bug, in an ideal world, the original design would be best with all 5 slow points, but we think that 3, the new design you have before you, is a sensible compromise that, listens to the concerns of the residents, but will still actually provide meaningful and major impacts for safety for people cycling now, but most importantly, remember, for people who don't cycle now, but might in the future should this project go ahead. So we urge you to proceed with the project. Thank you.
I can give you your 1-minute warning now. Okay, any questions? Councillor Gaffey.
Why has the Woodweller bikeway been a success?
There's a study on it in the 22-27 cycling plan, I believe, where they did some study of the traffic speed and volumes before and after the project. And despite, like I said, it being narrow, it did further reduce the car speeds. And now it is, a safe route to cycle instead of King William Road, which was the idea.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Okay, I'd like to ask permission of council to bring, as I usually do, the item forward to the next item, 4.3. Can I just have assent to bring it forward, please? Those in favour? Thank you. That's way more, that's everybody. Okay, we'll go on to item 4.3 now, and then we'll go to the 3.1 afterwards. Now, is anybody prepared to move in terms? Councillor, I've got Councillor Bonham with the light on. Councillor Bonham, would you like to move?
Yes, I would like to. First of all, I appreciate our residents who have made deputations this evening. I appreciate the concerns you've raised. Nonetheless, I will be moving in terms of option 1. As per our consultation results, residents in Young Street were slightly more against the proposed traffic calming treatments than in favour of them, at 26 against to 20 in favour. However, the changes had strong support from the broader Unley community, approximately 2/3 of respondents being in favour of the changes. The bike route was adopted as part of Council's 22-27 walking and cycling plan. That plan aims to not only encourage people to use active modes of travel, such as walking and cycling, but to enable it by ensuring the conditions are conducive to active travel. And research and our own transport staff understand well that these kinds of treatments do actually make walking and cycling more conducive to active travel. So in my view, the issue here is in getting the detail right rather than abandoning a key aspect of the walking and cycling plan. The proposed treatments will have benefits for all road users and residents as, based on evidence from other locations, it will reduce both the speed and volume of motor vehicle traffic in the street. It's also important to note that staff have made a number of changes to the concept design in response to concerns raised by residents. They've reduced the number of slow points, reduced the number of car parks to be removed, improved pedestrian access at the Glen Osmond Road end of Young Street, and extended parking availability in the current school zone. In my view, Council has listened to community concerns and addressed them to the extent possible without compromising the overall intent of the design, which is to make the streets safer for people who walk and cycle, and especially for children accessing the primary school. Further, while some residents have suggested lowering the speed limit to 30k on the street, Department of Infrastructure and Transport, as the relevant authority, has indicated a preference for Council to install traffic calming treatments. On point 3 of the motion on consultation, I'm supporting further consultation on stage 3 to ensure that all residents in Young Street have correct information on the concept and concept design and the changes that have been made. When the slow points were reduced from 5 to 3, residents directly impacted by the changes were contacted. Unfortunately, contacting only those residents can be easily seen as a lack of transparency. In my view, further consultation doesn't put the traffic calming measures in doubt. Rather, it is to provide correct information to residents on Young Street and to receive any feedback that may assist in making minor changes to the proposed design. I commend the motion to members of the chamber.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the staff member, Tanya Badgick, to tell us about what consultation has taken place, because apparently a number of people haven't received the information according to what's been said. And as a result of the consultation, what changes were made to the plan?
Through the Chair, typically when we get a council decision to proceed to consultation, we go through our typical Your Say consultation, which is citywide, and the letters are received to residents directly. That was undertaken over a 3 to 4 week period back in April. Staff has spent a considerable amount of time reviewing the feedback that was received and looked at a revised proposal taking into account the resident feedback. We did an elected member workshop looking at the changes, which was predominantly looking to reduce the number of slow points. Some of the key feedback was around parking, and in addition to the proximity of the slow points next to driveways, as well as the proximity to the slow points next to the existing driveway links. The key concern was around the section between Castle and Oxenbould, and when we looked to review and take into account the resident feedback, we looked to reduce the number of slow points from 2 to 1, which meant that there was a slow point positioned in front of a new property, which was in front of 45, 46, 47, 48 would be impacted. Typically, when council makes updates to the design, we take it to council to get endorsed to proceed to detailed design. At the time, we didn't necessarily think it was fair to take it up to council on that premise without letting the people know that there was a change to the design in terms of the slow point location. So that's why we only sent it to the residents, and only the impact that was direct to their property, to give them an opportunity to speak to elected members about their concerns. However, in hindsight, we realised that we probably should have taken it to council if we thought the design had changed enough and endorsed it to consult to all residents, because it does seem that a letter drop was put out to residents and may have provided some misinformation around what we were trying to achieve. Hence why we put the recommendation for stage 3 to undertake that localised feedback, so everyone had the same information and can provide their views in a fair and transparent manner.
Thank you. Luke, Councillor Doyle, sorry, I shouldn't call you Luke. Councillor Doyle.
Thank you. Through the chair, before I second the motion, I just had a question for Tanya Batchik. In relation to delaying the project potentially by doing this next round of consultation, which, as in item number 3 of this item, would that change? How would that change or impact the overall project construction, stage-wise and time-wise?
Through the chair. Typically, with the walking and cycling plan, we get an annual budget allocation. Because we're starting the detailed design probably later in the year, typically we like to know what the costs will be before we start the annual business plan and budget. Currently, obviously it's a council decision, but at this stage we wouldn't necessarily look to construct the stage 3 next financial year. We may look to do stage 2 and then pursue stage 3 in the 27-28 financial year. But that's something that, as staff, I would recommend, but obviously council can change that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do you wish to speak, or is it...
Yes, I would like to second the motion. Thank you. I was going to take people through the steps that we've done to get here. Tanya has done a great job of doing that, but I just thought let's give a bit of a timeline. So in January this year, Council endorsed the concept plans for stages 2 and 3 to proceed to community consultation. In April-May this year, community consultation was undertaken for 5 weeks. As has been stated, 300 residents were directly sent letters to, 2 street meetings were held, Your Say members were contacted to provide feedback. Following the first round of consultation, changes were made to address the various concerns, and these have been discussed as well. And as has been discussed again, due to the significant change of the location of the slow point, residents directly affected were contacted and have met with council staff. And I do have to commend council staff on the project up to this point. The issue is residents along Young Street have not had access to the revised plans until this weekend. Even just looking at my email now, I've received an email from a Young Street resident who has just looked at the plans in the council agenda. So I think that's something we need to be aware of. So as has been mentioned as well, residents adjacent to the proposed new slow point were interested in a 30 km/h speed limit as an alternative to the installation of infrastructure. I personally do not support 30k speed limits, but in any case, that is not an option. So the issue is that we all feel like we've been walked through this process quite nicely. In September, we've been to the workshop and seen the revised plans. However, residents in the street have not, and as has been said, they've been letterboxed and not directly from council. So I think for us to proceed to a vote tonight without this extra round of consultation, as administration recommended, and as myself as Parkside Ward Councillor and Councillor Bonham are recommending. Just more broadly, I wanted to also state my support for the bikeway. It's interesting, people that aren't directly impacted by some of these changes wouldn't be aware of the council's walking and cycling plan, and that's just the nature of it. We're all on the same page, but to some people it can come as a bit of a surprise, but I do support it. We need east-west connectivity. We have established north-south connectivity through the Rugby Porter and Woodweller bikeways. As has been mentioned, along Young Street we've got Parkside Primary, so I'm aware that Parkside Primary, generally speaking, does support this project. St Raphael's also supports this project, and we, as has been mentioned, childcare centres and churches. We also have an upgraded intersection on Glen Osmond Road, and as Daniel has talked about, the connection there for cyclists entering that intersection is very poor. So I think it's also quite timely that we look at making that a better connection. It's been suggested that Glen Osmond Trail remains the main cycle route, east-west. However, this is not exactly user-friendly for people trying to get to Parkside Primary or to cross the intersection of Glen Osmond Road. So there's a number of reasons why I personally support it. And also we know that, well, we have seen along Woodweller that the installation of these slow points does reduce traffic volume and traffic speed. So if it was myself living on Young Street, I would be in favour of it. However, I just think in the interest of transparency and giving impacted residents a time and a chance to review the revised plans, it's only fair that we carry out that further small-scale consultation. It would only involve contacting residents that live on Young Street for a shorter period perhaps than what we would normally do. I think it's the fair and the right thing to do. And as we've heard, it won't change the timing of the project. We might not consider submitting a budget bid for this project until 27, 28 anyway. And so...
Sorry, I didn't give you 1 minute, did I?
No. So I'd be interested to hear any arguments against administration's recommendation and myself and Councillor Bonham's recommendation for the further round of consultation.
Ooh, pushed it. Okay, thanks, Councillor. Councillor Gaffey.
Yes, Your Worship, I've got an amendment which I forwarded as a motion previously. It amends item 3 and 4 to remove the further consultation and to proceed with the plan.
Okay, let's see what I think it's the one that I circulated because
That's
you
correct.
sent it to me.
So I had 3
it's red.
points rather than 4.
Would you regard that as an amendment or a return motion?
It's an amendment to the motion, Councillor.
Yeah, you can either do it as a...
I'll have a look at the words. I'm just getting advice as to whether, sorry?
It can either be done as a variation or an amendment.
It can be done as a variation amendment.
It
Okay.
won't be accepted as a variation.
Okay. Well, let's get the words up there. Huh? Huh? It's amendment. Yeah, just making sure. Last time I wanted to do an amendment, somebody said it was... Where's the red?
There's no red because it's just basically rewritten as...
Could you just, for my benefit, just highlight the red, please?
That'd be part 3.
Part 3?
Yeah, if you highlighted part 3 there.
That bit there?
Yeah, the main difference.
Oh, okay. Good. Those last few words. Thank you. All right.
So
That's now with the mover and
then it
second
would- then it
prepared
would
to said
strike
that
four.
it's a variation, but that means it goes straight through. So I doubt whether you would, but the answer's no. Just check. No. So it has to be moved as amendment. So you're now moving an amendment.
Correct.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay. We've now got an amendment. Now,
I
you've
would
got
imagine I'd
5
put my
minutes to
motion.
speak to the amendment, and I'll see if there's a seconder.
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, as has been stated, the project for the Young Street bicycle route provides east-west connectivity and builds upon existing work that we have, such as the Woodweller Bikeway. It's been carefully researched, carefully prepared, and has been developed in consultation with the local residents there. What this motion does is to call an end to the ongoing consultation that some in this chamber wish to have and to actually move on. Consultation by its notion should actually be to seek information from those who are affected and see whether we're able to shape the motion or shape the plan in order to improve it, redevelop it there. As was stated tonight by those making a deputation, there wasn't a look to reshape it, but to redevelop it there, to build in 30-kilometre speed limits there, to remove the slow points and that sort of stuff, basically gutting at the heart of what it is. I'm not convinced that those who are opposed on Young Street, through further consultation, will thank Council, be rather appreciative of our efforts in going back out there, but will rather believe that this is another opportunity for them to call a halt to the design. I've not seen any other paths that should be written in instead of Young Street, that we should be moving on to another street. I think Young Street is the best for us to begin this east-west connectivity that will build cycling better into our council. It helps, it assists those who are less active, those who are not so careful on their bikes and who want to start cycling. It makes it easier for people to start cycling and it improves safety. We know that the concerns that were noted tonight, that challenges with backing out of your driveway become easier when the speeds are slower along that lane. So this motion basically says it's time to make the move to the Young Street concept and that we proceed to a design.
Councillor Russo, are you prepared to second it?
Yes, I do, and I'd like to speak on that, please.
Okay, yes.
I'm very supportive of the work that we continue to do in regarding to enhancing our neighbourhood cycling routes around the city of Unley. They're very, very important. I think second to trees in regarding to our commitment to having healthy lives and also in the interests of the environment. So to me tonight, it's not about the argument about whether we progress with this or not. We definitely do need to progress with this. My concern is our reaction to what we do with our residents when we consult. We have a very good consultation process. We open it up. The workshop that elected members had was also open to the community. So there are a number of points where the community can be involved, whether that's through the Your Say, attending the workshop, and then direct consultation. Consultation does not mean we need to consult with every single person and hear back from every single person. Consultation is done openly and transparently through our Your Say. That gives everyone the opportunity. If you don't see it, well, that's not anyone's fault except yourself. But my concern is that when we do target particular residents because of particular changes or whatever, that's because it impacts them directly. That is a form of consultation. We do not need to be constantly going back out again and consulting with the community every time there's a change. That's why we have this chamber. We've done, we've heard, we've amended, and now tonight we make a decision to move on. I do not believe that going out to consultation will add any extra value. Those that were impacted directly by those changes have been contacted, that's been made clear, and everybody else had a chance when they did in regarding to generally. If we keep on making changes based on everything that we hear from the community, we'll be constantly consulting. There comes a point where we need to make a decision, and I believe that sometimes we are raising expectations of our community, saying that if we continue to hear their views constantly, that we will be changing our minds, that we will be doing things differently based on what's been said. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. We've had a process, it's been very transparent, it's very clear. I don't think going out means that we're being more transparent. If anything, we're over-consulting again. It is costing us more money in regards to that, and I think from what I understood, I thought it would delay the process because this is an additional step to the process. So as far as I'm concerned, we've done the right thing. It's now up to councillors to make decision tonight to progress whether or not you want to be endorsed and progress to detailed design and not to do an additional step of consultation. So as far as I'm concerned, what's been proposed by Councillor Gaffey, I will support. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Councillor Palmer, then Councillor Brunetsky.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's clear to me that we're all supportive of proceeding. The question tonight is whether or not we have a need for further consultation before doing so. I'll start up front by saying I'm amenable to simply notifying the community, and the reasons why I'll express now. Because if the detailed design addresses the results of the previous consultation, there's no need to consult, just simply inform. I can cite a couple of examples where we've gone out again to public consultation. And it seems to be a problem whenever you're talking infrastructure, street or park infrastructure, that we have this problem. I can recall the Clarence Park LATM, which was first LATM that we actually undertook. The public reaction, even though approved in the second consultation, when we prepared to commence work on site adjacent to Alboy Roy, was extreme enough for us to actually pull the pin and not include that part of the project. We run the risk of doing the same thing here. I can also recall going back to the King William Road project. Most people in this room weren't here at that point. We continue to get criticised by some over the curbing along King William Road, and yet the curbing was provided was overwhelmingly approved by the community. They picked one of, and I can't remember how many options it was, I'll suggest 5. They were overwhelmingly in favour of this particular option, but we keep getting condemned for having put it in. I sense that if there is an issue here, it's the slow points. In my experience, people invariably like the concept in the street, but they don't want the slow points in front of their property. Similar projects in my ward in the past are evidence of this, where we would go into a street, we'd get a consensus by all the people in the street that we need the slow points, but not in front of my place. So the people who didn't want the project to proceed had the slow points in front of their place. We understood the logic of their concerns, so we changed them, went back out to consultation. The street was still in favour, but the new people who had the slow points now in front of their place were suddenly not as keen. They would come up with an argument like, I can't get in and out of my driveway, so all right, we'll go back again and have a third go. Same thing. The people who now had slow points in front of them were no longer happy to have the project done. I think there has to come a time, as Councillor Russo says, where we draw a line in the sand and say, we've done the consultation, go ahead and do the job.
Okay, Councillor Brunetsky.
Look, Council has been long committed to establishing the Young Street Neighbourhood Bikeway, and it's a priority in the walking and cycling project for 2022 to 27 in the walking and cycling plan. Councillor Bonham has ably specified the safety reasons to implement the treatments along Young Street in terms of volume and speed of traffic, and the range of other considerations undertaken by administration. However, I do not agree with undertaking further consultation, particularly as Tanya Butchick has undertaken I believe, all she can at this stage to mediate the concerns of the residents. And I agree with Councillor Russo about over-consulting. And as Councillor Don Palmer has said, and I repeat these words, it's time to draw a line in the sand and move ahead. I frequently cycle along Young Street, and often with the Tuesday cycling group. They are older and more tentative riders. And Dan Grilly has his group as well, and some of my group ride in his group. So the cycle route links to other the Young Street cycle route links with other cycling routes outside Unley, and it's the most direct way of doing this, but it could be safer. The biggest hazard along Young Street, in my experience, is car speed. In response to the matters raised in the papers, so I'll be a bit more specific here, regarding the George Street, Young Street intersection, the changes for cyclists have been very welcome at that point, as there's no conflict between pedestrians and cyclists on a very narrow footpath at the pedestrian activated crossing. The crossing is now much safer. I support, as Councillor Doyle also said, 30 kilometres an hour for local roads in the City of Unley, but not just for one isolated street. I'm unsurprised that DIT didn't support that notion either. I don't feel there's anything further to gain from additional consultation in relation to Stage 3 of Young Street, particularly as there's continued opposition to the project as a whole, regardless of the suggested changes that are listed in Table 5. I feel the suggestions made to the deputation will not, I feel the changes suggested during the deputation will not meet the volume and speed issues outlined by Councillor Bonham. For those reasons, I support the option put forward by Councillor Gaffey, not to undertake further consultation and just proceed.
Okay, I was just going to ask, is there any speaker the other way? But I've got a procedural motion. Is there a seconder from somebody else? You can't. You can. The amendment, the amendment be put. Those in favour? That's carried. I'll put the amendment. Those in favour? That's carried. So that becomes the motion. And I think we've had no speakers against the motion in principle. Is there a speaker against the whole project? Okay, there isn't. Perhaps the mover might like to wrap up the debate. Pardon? Oh, does any mover can wrap up the debate? That's you. That's your motion now.
Point, is this actually my motion still?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's your motion.
Yeah, as amended, and you'll note that we didn't support the amendment. I suppose because everyone in the chamber is agreed with proceeding, we all agree on the importance of the this bike route to go ahead, with these treatments to go ahead. And given my research expertise in this field, I can hardly vote against a motion to proceed. So, you know, I will accept the Chamber's decision not to go out to further consultation and put the motion as it is.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Now we'll go to item 3.1. Get my computer to apply. Thank you. 3.1. Is there a mover for 3.1? Thank you. I was waiting. Oh, mover over here. Councillor Farmer.
Thank you. There are people over this side. Thank you, Your Worship. UBED met on the 12th of this month, and we had yet another productive meeting with all the members contributing to the various debates. I'm putting the option up on screen. UBED considered the recent business survey conducted by administration, a survey that suggested that while council was viewed negatively, the results were an improvement on the last survey, thankfully. It was also similar to other LGAs that have been surveyed similarly, so we can put it into some context, the negativity that is. The survey importantly indicated that, amongst other things, firstly, too many businesses were unaware they are part of and paying membership costs of road trader associations. Secondly, that car parking is a significant issue. Thirdly, the condition of footpaths is substandard. Fourth, we need to do more about improving public realm infrastructure. Survey results, of course, confirm, I believe, what we already know. UBED was strongly of the view that we should address both the condition of our footpaths and improving car parking. Passing this motion means we endorse including consideration of these and the other recommendations made into our economy lead strategy in the community plan towards 2050. Interestingly, the presiding members of the trader associations were of the view that council should look at alternative models for managing and financing the associations. Given recent challenges facing both Unley Road and more recently King William Road, this is indeed a concern that admin, Councillor Finnis and I share. The committee has provided recommendations as to filling vacant positions of the committee. They also recommend Council again host the Business Awards, but with improvements. Finally, they considered a report from admin on decorative lighting of the main streets and believe Council should investigate this further. Thank you.
And
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Finos.
I'll be seconding this motion. Just a couple of observations. The business survey report. The overall survey results indicate a very low participation rate, which raises questions for me about the effectiveness and viability of continuing this type of survey into the future. It is essential to evaluate whether these surveys are collecting the relevant data needed to inform decision-making and develop initiatives that lead to positive outcomes. The costs associated with conducting such surveys should be justified by the value of the insights gained, aligning with the Council's expectations and objectives. To improve engagement and data quality, alternative approaches could be considered. These include leveraging our Main Street associations or organising focus groups that involved active participation from residents. Such methods may foster more meaningful interactions, provide richer incitements, and better support our business community needs. Ultimately, adopting more targeted and inclusive strategies can enhance the effectiveness of community engagement efforts and ensure that initiatives are well-informed and impactful. And item 3.2 is my observation as well. With over 20 years of executive leadership in business associations, I've gained a comprehensive understanding of the challenges faced by volunteer organisations. These associations are vital to community development, yet this current operational model falls short in maximising their impact and engagement. While I've previously worked within this current framework with success, that's self-assessment, maybe that's questionable, the evolving economic landscape characterised by decreasing disposable income and cost of living pressures adds pressure to this model. It is crucial to innovate and develop a new, more efficient framework that encourages stronger collaboration with local businesses, Main Street associations and council, and streamlines the rollout of various initiatives. After a thorough review of presentations from all associations, BDAC has concluded that exploring innovative approaches is both urgent and essential for sustainable growth. Today, I was pleased to receive an email from our economic team informing us of a Premier's certificate recognising the outstanding volunteer service provided by our Main Street associations. This recognises and highlights the dedication and hard work of these volunteer organisations, emphasising their vital contribution to community development and economic vitality in the City of Unley. The award was issued by Peter Malakis, Premier of South Australia, and Nat Cook, Minister of Human Resources, underscoring the significance of their event. So I think it's an acknowledgement of the hard work that these associations do put in. They're all volunteer basis, and I think it's great that they are finally getting acknowledged for the work they do put in. Thank you.
Councillor Russo.
Just a comment or observation, I'm pleased finally that with Council's work in getting BDAC as a committee in place, and that now thinkers on that committee have resolved or come to, I guess, a view that maybe the current models for the associations and how our main streets get revenue and are funded and so forth is maybe not the right option. This is something that I've been very vigilant about since coming on council over 7 years ago. What I'd like to see now is that these recommendations and how they move forward and that we actually get change happening, because there has been significant talk, there's now significant data, there's significant information, and I'd like to see this moving forward.
Anybody opposed? Okay, move it.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, look, I believe we should simply endorse this so we can move forward with the recommendations. One observation, if I may, if members are interested in the fourth Trader Association report, that being from Unley Road, it was inadvertently missed from the agenda. If anyone wants to read it, I'm sure they can ask staff to provide them a copy.
Thank you. Those in favour? Unanimous. Okay. That's 3-1. 4-1. 4-3's done. Road closure, 10 Robert Street. Somebody like to move? Yeah, thank you. Councillor Russo.
Yes, I'd like to support the motion and the recommendations that's put forward to us tonight. It's in regards to Route 42, is that correct? Sorry, am I on the right one? 4-1.
Yes, it is 4-1. That road closure, it's Robert Street.
Bugger, I thought we were on 4-2, sorry.
Okay.
I've missed
Are
it.
you prepared? That's in yours.
It's in my street, so I'll support it.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
And move
I've
that
just
one. Okay.
got to get my head round. I've got the wrong paper up in front of me.
Okay. Well,
Apologies.
perhaps we get a second.
Yes, it's in my ward, so yes, I'll be supporting this. This is very much, I guess, something that has to come to council and regarding to following mandatory public notice and so forth that we're required to do in regarding to the opening and closing of roads. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a fairly straightforward process that we need to undertake. So sorry, that's all I'm going to say on this one.
Is the other ward councillor going to second it? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll
You need to
second
speak?
this and reserve my right.
Any speakers? Good.
Hold on.
Oh, okay, money.
I'd just like to note that in the papers it says 85,000 will go to pay down council's long-term debt. Thank you very much. We'll take that. Appreciated.
Mover.
Close.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Good. That's 4-1. 4-2.
May I move this one?
Yes,
Two,
you can
please.
be greedy.
Okay, I'll get to the right paper now. This item has been previously discussed by council in regards to the approach around the parcel of land between the two streets and so forth, the small laneway. Sorry, I'm just getting the paper up. So what's been recommended is that that council administration. I've still got the wrong page number. I'll read up here. The council commences the road closing process, part one, and that we follow the public notice in regarding to proportion of the public land located at Mary Place. There's more there, isn't there? Sorry, I can't see what's going on. That's it. Thank you. So that we can proceed with the work that, with regards to what's been requested by the property owner at 110-120 Road and 2 Charles Street. So I'm happy with what's been proposed. Councillor Finos and myself have, I guess, had lots of consultation with council administration around this, and we believe that following these recommendations for that road closure needs to go ahead.
Seconded.
Thank you, Worship. This transaction appears to have been initiated by the property owner of the neighbouring site at 110-120 Unley Road. Given the minimal regulatory constraints and low valuation from the council's perspective, the sale is anticipated to unlock significant development potential for the entire site. Facilitating the sale is expected to promote future development opportunities that could substantially enhance the Unley Road precinct. Such development initiatives are aligned with broader urban renewal strategies aiming at revitalising the area, improving aesthetics and fostering economic growth. The redevelopment of this land could lead to increased investment, improved amenities and upgraded infrastructure, thereby elevating the overall quality of the neighbourhood from residents and visitors alike. It is advisable for council members to actively support the sale of this parcel of land, encouraging private developers to invest not only in this specific site, but also other sites within the Unley area. Engaging with developers can accelerate urban renewal efforts, attracting new businesses and create a more vibrant and attractive environment. Supporting the sale of this land is a proactive step towards fostering development that benefits the entire community. It is essential to consider the long-term advantages of such initiatives, which can lead to a more dynamic, visually pleasing and an economical, prosperous Unley.
Any speakers against? Anybody else wish to speak? Do you wish to speak against? No. Okay, Councillor Brunitsky.
Yes, will the $765,000 proceed go to pay off our debt, just like 10 Robert Street?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not going to speak against, but I am concerned about issues of permeability. And while the argument is put that this wouldn't be a desire line for pedestrians and cyclists, basically until you open it up, and as we've discussed in the past, the potential to landscape a smaller portion towards the back of the property. Until we did that, we wouldn't know if there was another desire line that we could create. That said, after emailing back and forth with staff today, I do appreciate that the amount of land that could be available for a laneway at the back of this property, that it may lead to antisocial behaviour. So we couldn't retain a large enough piece of land that we could properly landscape it. There's no casual surveillance in the area, and so I am convinced to actually support the motion.
Well, you've argued both sides of the case. Any other speakers? Yes, that's fine. I'm not criticising. No, mover.
Happy to close, and I think we're right. This is
Councillor
another
Gaffey,
one.
Order.
This is another one. Let's not overcomplicate it and just proceed and get on with it. So, yes, support it, please.
That's right, just getting it ready. Those in favour? Against? Unanimous. Okay, that's 4-2. 4-4. Somebody like to have a go at 4-4? Oh, Councillor Bonham.
I'm prepared to move motion 4-4. I was really pleased in reading this to see the range of activities that are being supported, and in particular the visual and performing arts that are making a strong showing in this series of grant allocations. So I think it's a really good expenditure of our funds on these grants.
Seconder, Councillor Repeat.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I endorse Councillor Bonham's comments, and it's good to see some new applications in there as well. Happy to support it.
Any speakers against? Any questions? Yes. Councillor Gaffey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, Your Worship, is there a link between the Latvian Cooperative Club and the Latvian Association? I'd hate to think that by badging yourself with two different names, you're able to pick up two different grants.
Okay.
Through the chair, I don't believe they're the same association.
Mover.
Close.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Very good. That's 4-5. 4-6. No, now we're going to 4-5. Oh, 4-5. I've crossed one off. I better put 4-6 back. 4-5. General purpose financial. Monica, come on, somebody. Hey, Councillor Bonham.
I think we went through the general purpose financial statements in the last council meeting when we presented the Audit and Risk Committee report. So I won't go through that in detail again, but I think it's worth reiterating that the Audit and Risk Committee resolved that the financial statements present fairly the state of affairs of council, and members of the committee agreed that council was in a robust financial position. Just to remind members of our overall financial position, our operating surplus ratio came out at 5.8. However, that's been adjusted down to 4.6, so well within our target range, and that's to account for the early receipt of the local government financial assistance and local roads grants, and it excludes the equity accounted businesses. So, as I said, this is in our target range for the operating surplus. Our net financial liabilities ratio is 8%, which is well within our 80% limit, and our asset renewal funding ratio was at 74%, and that's much lower than our target of 100%, but that's due to significant carry forwards. So if projects had been completed within the 24-25 financial year, we would have a 99% funding ratio.
Very good. Councillor Gaffey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wish to second. Just highlighting what has been stated, that this is a fair and accurate representation, and that administration has noted that there have been carry forwards in terms that we've been provided with money for local roads grants that were brought forward, which, if not properly checked, could otherwise bump up the operating surplus ratio there. So it is good that those things are not sort of marked down as materially affecting the result, and in fact administration is at pains to make sure that we're completely aware of our current standings. So with an operating surplus ratio of approximately 4.6%, it looks quite good. There's a couple of things that I'll touch on in the next statement though.
Zabreczki.
Just a couple of things I'd like to say, having received some clarification from Alex Brown today. In relation to Centennial Park on page 212 regarding deferred interment rights, the receipt of funds for interment rights are recorded as a liability or a provision until the interment right is enacted, i.e. when the person dies and they actually use the right. So even though the money is sitting in the provisions for X number of years for X number of interment rights, those funds are quarantined as a liability. In terms of the big discrepancies, I think most people would have seen this on page 208, the Statement of Comprehensive Income. There was a big reduction in the asset valuation movement of 57.7 million, so that's quite a big sum in the last financial year compared to the previous financial year. The main thing to note here is that this movement depends on what asset class is being revalued in the cycle of asset class revaluations. Essentially what this means is we'll continue to see these discrepancies every time we get a new valuation. However, what was introduced fairly recently and discussed at Audit and Risk Committee is that there is now annual indexing of the value of assets and depreciation to minimise these variances from year to year. But regardless, I think there's a potential to see some big variances. That's all I have to say.
Good.
Close.
Those in favour? A wonderful set of figures. Thank you, Alex. Next, cross 4-5 off and 4-6. Somebody new. Oh, no, money. Okay, it's 4-6.
I'd like to move in terms, please.
Good. Seconder. Councillor Gaffey.
Yes, Your Worship. I'd like to draw Councillor's attention, since it's been raised in terms of Centennial Park, page, where are we, 393. If members will note, the income or the total user charges for Centennial Park decreased from 24 to 25 by about $270,000 there. This was yet matched by expenses that went up $220,000 there, contributing to the losses that Centennial Park continued to make. The challenges also arise later on. I don't have the page in front of me, so I do apologise, but here we are, sorry, page 405. The operating surplus ratio for Centennial Park drops from 2023 at 6.3% down to 3.6%, and then it's a negative 2.1% in 2025. As members would be aware that the asset renewal funding ratio is sometimes something that can help those numbers there, but you'll find out that 23, they were 84% renewal. They've dropped down to 81% in 2025. So the concern is that the assets are not being renewed and they're also making more of a significant loss there. This is a concern for this entity and it is bearing some financial impact on our statement.
Quite correct. Anybody else? That's move. I'd like to close.
Yes, look, there are, I've listed a few concerns about Centennial Park as well. I won't discuss that here because this is a presentation of the annual report. So I might keep that for another day when we need to have robust and structured discussion around that. So close.
Thank you. Those in favour? Closed, unanimous. Now, I'd just like to thank members for attending the Centennial Park presentation, and I was super impressed with the way the members handled the presentation and what they were actually looking for and the questions that asked. It was well done. Next.
Can I make a couple of comments?
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right.
Through Your Worship, just if I could make a couple of comments on the annual report. Just, I think we provided some comments in the report itself that next year we'll look at changing the format a little bit and reporting progress against the community plan and 4-year delivery plan. I think one of the speakers tonight made some good points about also progress of capital works projects and programs. So it'll be probably less verbose. It'll report against each theme with some measurable outcomes as well. It's something we've been playing around with for a while. Now that we have community plan, 4-year plan, et cetera, we'll change the whole format of this report for next year.
Okay. We right? There we go. Somebody want to move the report be received? Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Is there a seconder? Councillor, yes, Ravi.
Yes, happy to second.
Mover?
Question, Your Worship.
Oh, question, sorry.
To administration, through you, Your Worship there. The budgeted rates were out by $14,000 or in 53 million. Are you concerned about this?
Through the Chair, no, we're not. However, we continue to monitor the actual cash come through. So it's just important to note that we declare the rates revenue in July, and so we actually record it as income at that point. We receive it quarterly throughout the year. We're in forecast budget at this stage, but if there's any variance to that, we'll let you know.
Hey, look, this is the first quarter. Go. It's always hairy, you know, it goes here. Hey, Councillor Bonham.
I thought I might just provide a little bit of detail on our financial performance report, just a little bit. The actual performance is largely in line with the budget, and the main variances to note are in relation to operations. So income exceeded forecast mainly due to revenue from the extended swimming season, and expenditure we haven't spent as much as forecast, and that's mainly due to staff vacancies, timing of contract maintenance, although there's been an increase in the cost of utilities such as electricity and water, and also finance costs haven't been as great as expected. The other major thing is capital renewal. So the expenditure is several $100,000 above the budget, and that's due to footpaths on Fullerton Road at Highgate and Unley Road. And I tried to find out some more detail about that, whether or not that was an unexpected expenditure, but I'm still looking for that information. But also drains and stormwater. That expenditure was due to unanticipated works on Goodwood Road. So the actual year-to-date performance, as I said, is in line with the budget. However, as members would have noted, the forecast noted in the report will require some significant adjustments to the budget as detailed in the next item.
Councillor Brinicky.
Yeah. Had some discussions today with Alex regarding some of the budget lines. Regarding external project management funding on page 494, all the external project management funding of 370,000 is in addition to the overhead allocation of 561,000 under new capital. So overhead allocation is the indirect project costs of administration, legal fees and things like that. The additional project management resources will be costed to specific projects as that is known as the year progresses. The reason for accounting the 370,000 to new capital is because most of the expenditure will actually be new capital with some capital renewal. In relation to the reallocation of 150,000 to the Sunrise Christian School pedestrian crossing from Railway Terrace, the Railway Terrace South project, I've been told that there's sufficient funding for the Railway Terrace South project, as we received 400,000 from state government, and there's a budget allocation in the renewals bucket, which is more than sufficient to cover Railway Terrace South. So that's about all I've to say.
Any other speakers? Mover? Those in favour? Okay, thank you very much. Unanimous. Next, 4.8. Hang on, cross 4.7, 4.8. Somebody like to move? Up, Councillor Bond.
So this is the Q1 budget review, and Councillor Brunetsky has already mentioned some of those things. So in a nutshell, the review proposes endorsing an increase in net funding requirements by 4.8 million, a reduction in the operating surplus to 1.47 million. This means going from a budgeted 3.7 operational surplus ratio to 2.3 operation surplus ratio, which is well outside our target range. And forecast borrowings of 12.9 million rather than budgeted 8.12 million. So this means our net financial liabilities ratio goes from budgeted 26% to 30%, but of course that's still within our target limit. So the main culprits of the substantial budget review changes are operating. So on the plus side, a slight increase in forecast income due to increased permit income, increased investment income, and reduction in waste management expenditure given the change to compensate effectively multi-unit developments, to defer that until 26-27. So operating projects, the remediation of Marion Street is a major expenditure. In terms of new capital projects, the main expenditures will be on Unley Oval Fence, Marion Street landscaping, strategic property purchase and external project management. The capital renewal, it's worth noting there that the reclassification of King William Road, stage 1 and 2, moves from new capital to capital renewal. And these renewal projects are being funded by reallocation of funds from smaller road renewal projects in Wayville and Clarence Park, which is my understanding. So a few things to note from the budget review recommendations. We're anticipating the grant awarded for Highgate Park will be transferred to Marion Street, and that's going to significantly reduce the cost of Marion Street remediation. So this is likely to mean our operating surplus ratio goes from 2.3% to about 2.8%. And I think it's important to note that while we would like to have an operating surplus ratio in our 4 to 6% range, having an operating surplus ratio is precisely that, well, one of the reasons, not just to pay down debt, but it's also to meet unanticipated challenges to our budget, and I think Marion Street remediation falls into that. So, as I said previously, the increase in borrowings still keeps our net liabilities ratio well within our limit of 30%, and the asset renewal ratio, because of the reclassification of the King William Road projects, that will increase asset renewal to 162%.
Councillor Gaffey, seconder.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wish to second. I wish to echo the comments made that sometimes we do have unforeseen expenditure. As we've seen, that has impacted the operating surplus ratio and is a significant reason why Council needs to identify in the future, trying to get a little bit closer to 5 or 6% so that we can withstand the shocks of unexpected expenditure a little more easily. The second one is perhaps a question that I have at the end through you, Your Worship, to administration, just regarding how the asset funding renewal ratio, which has been amended to 162%, does this tend to be more of a...
Sorry, what percent?
162% for the asset funding renewal ratio as a result of the reclassification of King William Road. Does this affect Council in any way, or does it tend to be more of a paperwork sort of thing, is it, I guess?
Alex.
Thank you, through the Chair. So, as you've outlined, the ratio has increased because of the reclassification of King William Road works. The vast majority or large majority of that works will be renewal. There will be some potential new capital within that, but we won't know that until the end of the year. Fundamentally, what it does mean, though, is that we are replacing the assets, and so we can account that as predominantly renewal works.
Thank you. Councillor Brunetsky.
Yes, look, I picked up on the movement of funding from new cap to capital renewal. I mean, that seems to be a sensible way to go, given that it is renewal. My understanding with talking to Alex Brown was that there's a 10 to 20% that's renewal out of the amount that has been moved over. For the moment, the funding is all allocated to capital renewal. But once the works have been completed, as Alex has just stated, then there's some adjustments that will be done financially, but also it needs to be dealt with through the asset management plan. So we have to have absolute clarity about what is new capital versus capital renewal. In relation to the community infrastructure plan on page 504, I raised the question as to the reason the community infrastructure plan at a cost of $38,500 had not been budgeted for in our budget, because I would have thought that might be a foreseeable cost. But as it turns out, the plan was originally going to be funded through the operating budget, but due to increased funding requirements, as I understand it, it could no longer be funded operationally, and therefore the additional cost.
Before I ask to move it to close, I'm so pleased that the identification of the need for a surplus is not just to pay down debt, but it also is a capacity to borrow. Very pleased with that double pointed out. Councillor Bonham.
In concluding, I would just like to thank staff for making such a user-friendly report. It's really clear, easy to follow, and I love the summary table.
And would you please support the motion? Those in favour? Unanimous. Okay, that is, what number are we up to? 4-9, 4-8's crossed off, 4-9, appointment of Deputy Mayor. Nomination, Councillor Gaffey.
Is he nominating?
No, he's nominating. Shut up, you. I'm getting side comments. That's all right. Okay, no other nominations. We'll put Councillor Gaffey's name in. You've got to leave because of the arrangement while we vote on whether the motion is acceptable. Councillor Palmer.
I'm prepared to nominate Councillor Gaffey. So the motion,
Yep, with the motion.
as it's developing up there. That's what I'm moving, and I don't think I need to speak to it.
Second that. No other speakers? Those in favour? Oh, sorry. I forgot that bit. Closed. I'll get Councillor Gaffey. Thank you. Okay. Next, we pause a moment until Councillor Gaffey returns with electronic access to council meetings. Councillor Hughes, are you moving? Councillor Bonham's moving.
Yes, I would like to move in terms of option 1 on this report, that we actually the audio live stream video of ordinary and special council meetings be made publicly available within 5 clear days of the council meeting, and the recordings remain available for at least 12 months after...
Just pause a minute. Just want to make sure that the option up there is the one that you're moving, because there are a range of alternatives.
That's the one.
Yep.
Okay, we're quite clear. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure when there's numbers of motions that is the one we're debating.
Yeah. Okay, as set out in the table on page 520, many councils are already making meeting recordings publicly available. The initial motion for a report on this issue received unanimous support around the chamber, so I'm anticipating there is concern among councillors to provide greater transparency in decision making, to provide our community with greater insight into our decision making processes, and to allow people to hear debate, arguments and reasoning rather than relying on second-hand sources. So as per the report, this proposal is in line with Council's own code of practice and the local government regulations. A few risks and considerations have been pointed out, and that is that the minutes provide the outcome of a motion and whether it's been endorsed or failed, but that the minutes don't provide any insight into the actual debate, the reasons put forward for or against a motion. So access to those debates allows the community better insight into the complexity of some of the issues Council has to address and the many sides of every decision. The problems identified in the report, such as control over how the recording is used, already has solutions, such as requiring that audio recordings cannot be altered, etc., without permission of council. And while we might not be able to monitor how they're used, I suspect that any misuse of recordings is likely to come to council's attention fairly quickly, especially if it's mischievous. In my view, the pros significantly outweigh the cons, so those as set out on page 522. So live streaming might already discourage some residents from speaking, making deputations. Live streaming may already lead to some councillors self-censoring. And in terms of comments requiring moderation, we can always turn comments off on any online platform. So I hope that others will join me in supporting this motion.
Councillor Gaffey, you seconding it? Oh, Councillor Palmer seconding it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I support the motion that Councillor Bonham has put up. I doubt that anybody in this room would disagree that it'll improve transparency. I sense that it'll go one step further. I agree the pros far outweigh the cons. It'll improve, I think, perhaps the delivery of debate. There will be a bit more discerning about what we say because it will be on the record. Sometimes we can be less than clear with our debate, and I think this will give us a chance to improve.
Councillor Gaffey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think this motion will help educate the public. It will inform them of how we use meeting procedure, of the practices that we hold within this chamber. The debates we have here are robust yet polite. Many times there is a clear review of financial principles, going through the papers, making sure that we know exactly what's in them, identifying how we're spending the money and how careful we are with it, developing clear and coherent plans that benefit the community at large. And so this motion doesn't just benefit the public, hopefully it will benefit surrounding councils.
Okay. If this motion passes, I've just got an obvious question. Is this meeting part of the motion or is this meeting pre the motion?
This meeting is pre.
This meeting won't be kept, all right? Just so that everybody's clear. Oh, well, I don't mind this meeting being kept.
We haven't made the decision.
That's what I've just asked for.
You can make the decision within the motion itself as to when it's effective from, but because the decision hasn't been made yet, it doesn't capture this particular meeting.
Okay, does anybody want to include this meeting? You better move an amendment.
Word variation.
No, you move the motion.
You can vary the motion.
You can vary the motion, yes. You're happy to vary the motion to include this meeting? Yeah, yes, you can do that. I'm going to allow it anyway, so it's clear.
Yes, I'm happy to add. I understood that on page 524, where it said this solution would be implemented ongoing from 24th November meeting. I actually took that to include this meeting, but obviously my interpretation was incorrect. But I would, yes, I'm happy to include the variation that it includes.
After council meetings commencing with the council meeting on and being made, etc.
Exactly those words.
Just one request. I would like the results of council meetings to be clear, everybody understand it, and so far everybody has understood what's gone on and the results are clear. Good. That's answered my question. So that's the motion, and we've had all the debate, and if anybody wants to oppose that, you'll have to speak against it and vote against the motion.
So it
The
covers
seconder happy? Who's the seconder? You happy? Yeah, move and second. That's the motion. Any other speaker? Mover? Close?
Close.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Good. Now, next one. That should be 4.9, should be 4.10. No, that's 4.10. 4.11. I didn't cross that last one out. 4.11.
Yes.
Councillor Doyle.
I'm
Hands
hiding
are
in
easy.
plain sight. I'd like to move in terms, thank you. I just had a question that was answered from Danielle, the governance officer, about why the term whistleblower wasn't used in the procedure, and apparently the local government's moving away from that term, just in case anyone was interested in that fact. But I'd like to move it as a procedural motion.
Oh, somebody's hand. Please, somebody. Thank you. You haven't done it. Thank you, Tony. Councillor Roach seconded it. Mover? Those in favour, unanimous. Next. 4.12. The report be noted, that's all. Somebody? Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Thanks to Councillor Abid. Councillor Palmer. Those in favour? Unanimous. 6.11, the highlight of the meeting. Mayor's report. Somebody like to move? Thank you, Councillor Gaffey. Second, Councillor Finos. Councillor Gaffey. Those in favour? Unanimous. The Deputy Mayor's report, Councillor Hughes. Second, Councillor Brunetke. Councillor Hughes. Those in favour? Unanimous. Note members' reports. Correspondence. Note the correspondence. Yes, I understand. And no confidential meetings. I declare the meeting closed at 8:42, and I'll ask members to stay behind for a moment for